Hello, Risa here from the Nutrinut, nutritionist and founder of the Nutrinut. If you are not familiar with what the Nutrinut is all about, it's basically a nutrition coaching practice where I teach you how to eat in a way that is in alignment with your body, with your mind, with your soul, and with the planet. Because like I always say, you cannot talk about nutrition and healthy eating without also talking about sustainability. For today's video, I want to dive into one of your very requests, which is diving into plant-based. Before even talking about any of that, I think it's really important for us to know the difference between what plant-based actually really means. Now, it's a term that's often interchangeable with vegan, but honestly for me, there's kind of a big difference between just saying vegan and saying plant-based. Vegan basically means not having any products that are coming from animals, right? So it's not only not having meat, not having fish, not having chicken, but also you're eliminating dairy because it comes from the cow, right? When you're also eliminating eggs because it comes from the chicken, and you're even eliminating honey from your diet because it comes from the bees. So that's what vegan is. Vegan can also extend into the beauty and personal care, so not using any ingredients that come from animals, also embracing the cruelty-free, right? That no animals, that it wasn't, the product was not tested on any animals, no animals came to harm to produce a certain product. And it can also extend into clothing, so avoiding things like leather and silk and all that because they do come from animals. So that's in a nutshell what vegan means. Obviously there are different levels. People, do kind of what they can, and there are different variations, but looking overall, that's it. Now, plant-based. This is a term I think that has become quite trendy, and I feel a lot of people turning into this certain lifestyle. There are many benefits to going plant-based, but I also think it's very important to understand what's important about it and how it's different from vegan. So plant-based means focusing on foods coming from plants. What does that mean? You have your fruits, you have your vegetables, you have your grains, legumes, beans, nuts, seeds, like a lot of different options, right? The difference that I say that's so key and important between saying that you are focusing on plants or you're vegan is for one main reason. Now, there are these mock meats that we see. It's a category that's really growing in the supermarket, right? So you have your chickenless chicken, which, believe it or not, that is a thing. If you start paying attention, you will start reading that in labels, right? They also have meatless meat options, and I have crazy hair right now. So they have all these meat alternatives, and I feel that it has become very trendy to just, instead of having chicken every day, you're having that chickenless chicken option, right? What's the problem with that? Although it is vegan, and yes, it will be better for the environment, you're also being mindful about the suffering of animals, which that is a really big and important one for me. But when it comes to your health, you're not really doing that many favors for yourself, let's say. You have to remember that although not arguing that it is absolutely delicious, and honestly, hats off to the scientists that have developed these products, because they actually have managed to make something that is really close to the real thing, at least in my opinion, right? Especially if you put like the right seasoning and things like that, so it can be pretty darn close. But the issue is that it's also extremely processed, right? If you look at the list of the ingredients, it's typically huge. And what the issue with having things that are extremely processed is that usually is where what's contributing really greatly to overall inflammation in the body. And the science is there, the research is there. Inflammation is actually the root cause of so many diseases that we see nowadays, right? So you want to be mindful about what you're putting inside your body, and whether you're deciding to go plant-based or vegan, for your love for animals, for the environment, for health issues as well, you want to always do one thing, and that is eat real food. For the majority of the part. I'm not saying that whenever you're having the cravings for the crispy chicken sandwiches, that's an example that hits close to home. Yes, I do miss the crispy chicken sandwiches. But whenever you have those cravings, it's important. You can go and you can enjoy it, right? There are those options. They are there for those reasons. But your day to day should always be focusing on plant-based, right? Not only vegan options. So instead of having a, let's say, going back to the chickenless chicken, not picking on that one in particular, but it's what's coming to mind right now. So instead of having that, substitute it for, let's say, a bowl of curried chickpeas or lentils, or there are so many options. I know you don't think right now that there are, but they really are, and I'm going to be diving later another video on the different alternatives that you can include, because I know that a big concern when you remove meats, when you remove foods that are derived from animals, is actually the protein component, right? So that's one thing. And to kind of wrap up this video, I don't want to keep this one too long. I just want to introduce the term, because I will be sharing more deets later on about the plant-based way of living and what that means, and how that should look like to have a balanced nutrition, right? And to make sure that you're doing everything right, not only for the environment but also for your body. So to wrap this video up, I just wanted to say a couple of notes. First of all, I don't really believe in boxing people. So you don't have to say, okay, I'm vegan, I'm plant-based, I'm gluten-free, I'm keto. If anybody asks, you're human, honestly. And I'm bringing this up because my personal journey is I decided to give up meat more for the animal reasons, right? It's become very hard for me to actually, even though the flavor, it's not an issue of like that it grosses me out or anything. It's more really just because of the animals and for the environment and things like that. So I feel that a lot of people are always looking at what I'm doing, especially because I'm a nutritionist, and they're always asking me and labeling me and putting into boxes. And there have been moments in my life where I've had to take a look at how I was eating and make switches. So because that's really important when you make changes in your nutrition, right? Is to stop and to assess and see how you're doing and if that lifestyle is working for you. And that's what I'm constantly doing. So you'll see that I'm always like shifting a little bit here, adapting a little bit there. So what's the issue with boxes? It's like you always have to be justifying to people, and people will always be looking, and honestly, we're just human. All of us are human, right? So you don't have to do what anybody else is doing. You don't have to label yourself. You don't have to label anybody else. Nobody has to be judging you. It's like nobody's business how you're eating, right? So that's one thing, right? And just to recap, make sure that whenever you are making changes into your nutrition, into your lifestyle, always do that little reassessment. Try to stick as close as you possibly can to what is available in nature. Honestly, that is the end goal. That's what we should all be aiming for. And third, don't freak out whenever you go the processed route, right? Like I said, we are all human. So whenever you do have a craving for that crispy chicken, or
clearly I have cravings for the crispy chicken.
Because I keep bringing up that example. But whatever cravings you have, if you have it like every now and then, that is not a big deal, right? That's where the whole 80-20%, whatever percentage you want to have, 80% of the time you're having fresh, cooked, like homemade foods, and then you have 20% where it's like, you kind of do what you can, and that's where your cravings are all falling under as well. And that's what balance looks like. You don't have to be strict, you don't have to drive yourself nuts. Always do the best that you can. So if this is your jam and you want to know a little bit more and you can't wait for my next videos, I invite you to check out The Green Way, which is my online course that teaches you how to eat healthy in a sustainable way. So it combines both of them. It breaks everything down into 3 different levels so you can master each level at a time and not get overwhelmed. Because like what I always say, overwhelm can lead to paralysis, and that's not what we want, right? We always want to be taking that step in the right direction. All right, guys, if you have any questions about plant-based, about nutrition, about sustainability, just send them my way and I'll make sure to include them in the next videos.